Okay, welcome everyone. It's Nicola Cairncross here, and I'd like to introduce you to my Be Everywhere Online in Under 20 Minutes a Week programme. Basically, I'm going to share with you how I do that and how I built several six-figure businesses using exactly the technique I'm going to share with you today. Sometimes it's known as social media domination for super busy people. Neil suggested when I went to speak to the Aussies that I call it social media domination for super lazy people. But I know that nobody out there listening to this is lazy. We're just busy. We've got too much to do and too little time to do it in, especially if we're trying to fit in family and a bit of a work-life balance as well. Okay, so why am I here today instead of down the beach? Because it's pretty hot in Greece. This is where I live. I live in a little town called Stupa. It's on the Marni Peninsula, which is the middle finger of the Peloponnese. And I live up the hill to the right there somewhere. And this picture was actually taken in February or March. And you can see that there was snow on the Tegetos mountains up there. So yeah, it was pretty chilly that day, but it's warmed up a lot since then. And this is where I've chosen to base myself for the next few years or so until my children start having children anyway. So this is my little piece of paradise, if you like. So what I'm going to cover today is why you need to pay attention to social media domination, why you need to get with it, what you need to do to achieve it, and how to actually avoid doing it. Yes, I'm going to show you how to avoid doing something rather than actually doing it, but I want you to realise that it will get done regardless, because it will get done by your team you're going to build. Now, if you've obviously got more time than money, you can start out doing all the work yourself until the money starts coming in, and then you can build a team. And if you've already got more money than time and you're ready to invest in building a team, I'm going to show you at the end how you can get help doing that. Now, I do talk fast, so do take notes, but if you did want the slides, then either ask the person who introduced you to this webinar or email me at nicola@nicolacairncross.com. And at the very end, I will show you how you can get further help if that's okay with you. So, you've got your shiny new online business. It might be a product, it might be a service, it might be an Amazon store. But the other thing you've got is a trust issue. People don't know who you are. And everyone researches everything nowadays, so it seems. I don't, because I'm not a researcher, I just go on a gut instinct. But lots of people like to research before they buy. And I do know for sure is that people buy from people, not anonymous brands. Obviously, you buy from brands you trust. Think about things like Office Shoes or Nike or Nespresso. Those people have spent an awful lot of money in branding their business, in creating a brand, usually with very expensive advertising, which leads you to trust that brand. So just keep thinking about that and think about the brands you trust. So anonymous brands, no. Trusted brands, yes. People buy from people and brands they know, like and trust. And that's really important too, because you mustn't do anything to ruin your brand after you've built it up and spent a lot of time and money doing that. So everyone's at a different part of the buying cycle all the time. Some people don't know they have a problem. Some people know they've got a problem, but they don't know what the solution is. Some people know what the solution is, but they're now researching who to buy from. And this is where I come in with Be Everywhere Online, because I can help you to be there when they want to buy. And the other people are the ones who already know, like and trust you. They're your customers, and they're always ready to buy from you. So you want to catch your potential future customers at every stage of the buying cycle, and you want more than one chance to sell to them. You and your business need to be always top of their minds when they are ready to buy, and that can be achieved very easily and very inexpensively nowadays. Social media branding, which is what we're going to be talking here when we go through the Be Everywhere Online program, builds trust. Great content equals personal connection. Only the other evening I had dinner with a couple from Liverpool who had been researching about coming to live in Stupa. They put in those fateful words, what's it like living in Stupa, and they found one of the videos that Sarah, my sister, and I had created before we even came here. But we built up such a personal connection with them through that video that they actually emailed me. I gave them a load of advice about who to talk to and who to get help from regarding finding somewhere to live, and the upshot was that they ended up taking me out for dinner the other night, and we all had a great time. So that personal connection was built through great content, which helped them with a moment of difficulty. And it allows you to attract your potential future clients. It allows you to have authority in that people start to trust what you're saying because you demonstrate your knowledge and your expertise. And it also allows you to convert those visitors to leads and then sales. It also increases the lifetime value of a customer, because if a customer comes back and buys from you again and again, then the lifetime value of that customer increases, which means you can spend more to acquire that customer in the first place. And that increases the chance of creating recurring billing, whether that's by subscriptions to, say, supplements, for example, or whether it's by a membership site for people who've got the similar kind of interest to the interests of your customer, which in turn creates an extra income stream and a second sellable asset. Your original business delivering the product or the service, or the Amazon store, for example, can be a first sellable asset, and then you're creating now a second sellable asset in the form of a community. You have an amazing opportunity to dominate social media in your particular market right now. Hardly anyone is doing it at all, let alone doing it well. But I know you're busy with your website, you're busy with your store, you're busy with delivering the service, and you're time poor. So the good news is that this can be 98% outsourced. The content creation actually takes just a half an hour a week, and it gets leveraged across all social media, but you won't be doing it. But before I show you what to do, let's just go into a quick intro. I just want you to know who's talking to you and why you should listen to me. So as I say, I'm Nicola Cairncross and I live in Stupa. This is a shot of the beach on a sunny day, and I live up the hill on the right hand side there. It's absolutely glorious. It's my place that I've been coming to for years and years and years, and it's where I always decided I wanted to retire to. This is the view from the balcony where I created this Be Everywhere online course, and looking down to the sea and the opposite peninsula. And you see that little house on the left? That's the one I've moved into there. So it's all very green, it's not very built up at all, and it's absolutely amazing views everywhere you look. This is my journey to get here, age 0 to 55, which I am now, and I always want to show this slide because I want people to know that your journey to success is not a straight line. It generally involves a bit of zigzagging about, 0 to hero to 0 to hero, and in my case, 0 to hero again. So I didn't get started till I was 38, so that ought to encourage some of you. And largely speaking, while it has been a zigzag path, there has been some, each up has been further up, and each down has been less down. So I started out with a company called The Money Gym, which was where I shared everything I was learning about wealth creation and how people think about money, including things like internet marketing, starting a business, investing in property, and trading the stock market. And that went really, really well. It got to $250,000 turnover within just 6 years, and I've got faster and faster at creating good-sized turnover businesses ever since. But occasionally there's been things that have come along that have sideswiped me. The first one was the property crash and the global recession, and since then there have been several life events that have knocked me sideways, but we'll come to those in a minute. But I want you to know that, be encouraged by this, because if you're in one of those down swipes, then you can actually recover quite quickly. And if you get control of your mind, then you can recover very quickly indeed. So here's a very quick version of the story. I was a total failure up to the age of 38. I zigzagged between terrible jobs and failed freelance business type efforts. And then I discovered the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, book by Stephen Covey, which I highly recommend. And I started taking 100% personal responsibility for my life. It's very liberating when you do that, because it means that you're not looking to be rescued all the time, and you're not waiting around for someone to come and save you. You just get off your arse and do it yourself. I hired my first career coach, who was a very patient lady called Rachel Turner, and that started to make a huge difference too, because she introduced me to books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, E-Myth Revisited, and various other inspirational tomes. Around the same time, I got a job working for a very inspirational mentor, Benny Gray of the Space Organisation, and that's the kind of thing that happens when you start taking 100% of personal responsibility. Doors start opening, people start showing up, and you start getting the help you're looking for. Benny gave me lots of great projects to work on, one of which was turning a basement into a 1950s cafe. And the second project I did for him, we made £160,000 out of an empty room in Mayfair in just 6 months. And that was a good story. If you ever see me in a bar, ask me that one and I'll tell you how I did that. But then I read a book called Rags to Riches Through Real Estate by Russ Whitney, which was really very exciting. And it led me to buy an old nursing home with my sister and her husband and my husband and our kids. And we renovated it over 2 years, and we made a significant sum of money in profit just by taking this old nursing home and loving it again. I then moved on to buy, renovate and fill a £500,000 hotel, no money down, because I'd heard that you could do it in the book Rags to Riches. So I thought, well, let's see if you can do it in the UK. And essentially you can. So that's what I did. And I filled it in 6 weeks flat, and we renovated it in 6 weeks flat, and I filled it from a website which didn't even have pictures of the hotel on. It was very cool. 3 years later, I'm bored stiff of running a hotel and a coaching business, the Money Gym, and I tried to sell it. Now, in spite of all those people saying on various television programmes they'd love to run a bed and breakfast, I didn't have any takers, but what I did have was a £12,000 a month mortgage. Now, when you try and turn a hotel back into residential, you have to actually close the hotel. So I was applied for planning permission. I'd had to close the hotel. I still had to pay the 12k a month mortgage, and I'd had 2 buyers lined up to actually buy the houses. But then no planning was granted, even though I'd been assured that it would be. So to say I was in a pickle at that point would be a massive, massive understatement. So what happened then was I started doing some online marketing mentoring, as well as continuing to run my business coaching company, the Money Gym, and I did manage to find a buyer for the hotel eventually. My partner Steve, who had come from my favourite restaurant to run the hotel for me and then became my partner over a few years, he became a WordPress web designer, and a very good one too. And then I met Neil Asher. We used to have lunch to discuss trends after we'd been introduced by a mutual friend, and we used to just talk about what was coming, what was big in the marketplace. He was a fantastic affiliate marketer at the time, and he'd also just built and sold a multi-million business which was in the coaching arena, so that's how we got to know each other. We both decided that digital marketing agencies were a very big deal and that we should start one together. And we took that business to a 6-figure monthly recurring revenue in under 6 months by using the very same system I'm going to show you today. Then we amicably parted ways when Neil went to Australia to live with his wife and children, and I started Clicks and Leads. It was a boutique agency just really building sales funnels for people and filling those sales funnels with Facebook ads. And again, I used exactly this system I'm going to show you today to take that agency to 6 figures MMR in 6 months. Now, I just work with, I've still got the business, I've still got Clicks and Leads. I work with specialists, business experts and authors to build automated marketing and sales funnels, and then to fill those sales funnels with new leads from Facebook. But then, suddenly, Steve died, March 12th, 2016, and it knocked me sideways, let me tell you. Facebook ads seemed suddenly very irrelevant, and so I was trying to get over it. I wasn't getting over it in Shoreham, where we'd been living, and somebody suggested that I come and live in Stupa, but it was a friend of mine who'd I'd recommended the place to. She'd come out on holiday several times, absolutely loved it, and bought a house out here. So I came out here with my sister Sarah and started to slowly get over the loss of Steve, while trying to work out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Now I'm feeling much better now. Time is a great healer, it is true, and living somewhere so beautiful definitely helped. So as I say, I've still got Clicks and Leads, the boutique digital marketing agency for authors, consultants and experts, and increasingly now e-commerce store owners, because people like that are realising they can't just rely on Amazon for their traffic. They really need to take a more proactive view of building a powerful brand and getting leads and getting traffic, in fact, and leads from other sources as well as Amazon, for example. These are my marketing tools. I use an app, which I'll show you in a minute. I've got a blog. I've got a weekly V-zine, which is a video version of a magazine. I've got 5 books been written over the last few years, and I've got 2 audio podcasts and a video podcast. And that is how I'm everywhere online. But I bet you're dying to know how I do all that in under 20 minutes a week. Well, I'm going to show you. So here are the books. I started out with the Money Gym, which was my coaching company at the time, and I wrote that one first, and it's still well worth a read. Then I moved on to the Business Success Factory, which is all about mindset, marketing and money, which is my 3 things I've identified that people need to master in order to become successful. Then when I moved out to Stupa, one of the things I did was I rewrote The Science of Getting Rich Online, It's out of copyright, The Science of Getting Rich, and anyone can rewrite it. And I wanted to rewrite it for people who, like my teenagers, who were never going to read the original because it was in such archaic language and talked too much about religion, and also all the examples they cite in that book are, turn of the last century kind of examples, so nobody relates to them at all. And then I went on to create the first of a series of books called Mindset, Marketing and Money, where successful entrepreneurs reveal their 3 biggest secrets about business and online success. And that came from a series of interviews that I did that I'm working through transcribing and editing and turning into a set of books. Interviewing people, by the way, is a great way of creating content. Here's the V-zine. I'm not going to play it to you, but it does have rather cool look about it. My daughter Phoebe's in charge of videography and music and artwork, and do go and check it out. If you go to nicolacairncross.com/V-zine, then you will see it, or if you just go to youtube.com and type in Clicks and Leads V-zine, you'll find it. Now, I'm just going to play you the first bit. This is called the ident, and it's a 30-second clip. And it goes at the beginning of all the V-zines, and it's created by Phoebe. That's Phoebe over on the right-hand side there. This is us when we went to go and meet Gary Vaynerchuk in London. And I just want to give you a feel of how you can set up a brand and say a lot about a person or a business in 30 seconds. So let me just click on this, and it should open automatically. Hi, I'm Nicola Cairncross.
Hi, hello, hey, hi.
I'm going to talk to you about success. Yes. So you already know a little bit about me now because you've watched my 30-second ident. You know that I'm a mum, you know that I'm quite fun, you know I like soul music, and that I like to get out and about with my daughter. And you also know that I've got a fairly prolific social media presence by all the icons that are on the side of that. So in just 30 seconds you can communicate quite a lot about a business or a brand or a person, which I thought, that's why I wanted to show you that ident. Another part of my marketing armoury is the Own It podcast, which I do with my ex-Money Gym partner Judith, who is a business coach in her own right. But she is very much more on the woo-woo end of the scale, although she was an ex-accountant, so she's got a firm grasp of the numbers. And I'm very much on the marketing end of the scale, so we make for an interesting team, especially when we're disagreeing on the podcast. Everyone finds that highly amusing. So yeah, go and check it out at ownitthepodcast.com. And as you can see, it's doing quite well in the What's Hot charts in the UK. It's up there with luminaries like Pat Flynn, Chris Ducker and James Schramko. We also carried out a virtual summit last year, which was really good fun. We interviewed 18 digital nomads, people we know personally that are genuinely making a great living and living a great life, whether that's that they're traveling around the world with their families and making 100% living online, or whether it's just Yarrow Starrock, who is a serial digital entrepreneur. He goes and lives in one country for 3 to 6 months and then move on. So and they're really, really cool interviews. They're really behind the scenes and what it's really like to be a digital nomad, warts and all. This is the app, and I got this app made after watching my kids' behaviour, in that my daughter Phoebe only checks her email when she's missing some shopping, and Nelson never reads email at all, although he has got an email address. You have to actually if you want to email him something, you have to tell him that it's there, otherwise and even then it's hit and miss whether he'll go and check it out. So having an app is a really, really great thing for a business, because on my app pulls in all my social media content into one place, and it's just having a major upgrade which is going to make it even more interactive. But I sit on my app download subscribers desktops on their mobile or on their, when you first turn your phone on, that's where the app sits, and it's really very cool to have one of those. It also gives people access to my Clicks and Leads Inner Circle community area, and as you can see, you can actually ask for my help, number 3 down there in the middle one. You can actually ask for my help while you're out and about and a question occurs to you, rather than having to wait, try and remember it when you get home to your laptop or your desktop. It's very, very interactive indeed. And they're not as expensive to get made as you might think they were. But I bet you're dying to know how you can be everywhere online in 20 minutes or less a week, right? But before we go there, let's just have a very quick chat about your why, because it's really important to have a big why when you're doing anything, especially when you're doing anything entrepreneurial. And this is my big why. This is Phoebe and Nelson, my gorgeous, gorgeous children. They're a little bit more grown up than that now, but they are highly bright children, but highly unacademic. They just muddled through school. Neither of them were very good. They're both very creative, but they weren't very good at exams. Now, Nelson is 19. He's off touring around Thailand, and he's a music producer and DJ now, and he's already got 2 record deals under his belt, and he's just teaching himself how to play piano. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's also DJ'd at Wildlife Festival in the VIP tent. So he's cracking on with that career. And Phoebe's a videographer. And as a result of making her own little makeup videos on YouTube, she's recently been offered the post of social media manager with particular responsibilities for YouTube and Instagram, because people have been watching what she's been doing. And so she's got really a dream job. It's part-time. She works from home. She's getting paid a good daily rate, and she gets to do her own stuff on the side as well. So it's all coming good for these two. But the reason I wanted to show you them is not because I love them to death, obviously you can tell, but it's because I wanted to show them that there's a different way of making a living. That's my big why. And every time I've failed or been knocked back, I've dusted myself off, brushed myself off, and got back on the saddle again, because I want to prove to these two that it is a viable alternative way of making your way through life, rather than going and getting a 9-to-5 job when you're locked in an office all day. So that's my big why. So why is having a why important? I know we're going around in circles a little bit here, but I want you to think about what your big why is, and then I know that it's so important, because you are going to have setbacks, you are going to have failures, you are going to have things where things didn't go according to plan, or people don't help you in the way that they should, or worse, people who might try and rip you off. It's important, because if you don't have a big why, then you just give up, basically. And the fact that Phoebe and Nelson were looking to me to show them a way that was a different way to the corporate ladder and the university and all that business was really what kept me going when times got tough. And times do get tough. They get tough in a job. And you don't have such a big why in a job, because you're just there because you want to get paid. So it is important to think about your why. I'd just like to give you 30 seconds or so to have a think about your why. And perhaps even write it down while you listen to the cicadas in the background here. Okay, so we're into the what part of the presentation now. I'm going to tell you what you need to do to be everywhere online. But first I wanted to just talk to you briefly about how to think about your online empire, because especially if you're an Amazon store owner, you're probably thinking that's the be all and end all of it. And also perhaps if you're doing like my daughter, where she's building a YouTube platform as the main sort of base for her business, where she's doing makeup videos, for example, and recommending people to various makeup brands and things through an affiliate link. It's really important that you don't think of someone else's property like Facebook or YouTube or Amazon as your main hub of your business. This is a cartwheel. The centre of a cartwheel is called a hub, and I want you to move the idea of where you're building your business away from the centre and put in the centre there your own website. Even if it's only a 3 to 5 page website where you send people to collect their names and emails, for example, you've got to have something that you own and control in the centre of your online empire hub. And then what you're looking at with the spokes is all the different social media platforms. So Amazon's one, YouTube one, Facebook another one, LinkedIn, Instagram's another one, Medium could be another one, and Snapchat, for example, Twitter isn't, so all the different social media platforms, they're the spokes. They shouldn't be the hub of your online empire wheel. And then what happens is all your potential future customers and your new leads, they're all moving around the outside, and they should be able to zip in through one of the social media platforms and arrive at your online hub, which is where you can take orders, collect names and emails, and generally present your brand to the world. And you control it, you own it, you've got the domain name, you've got the hosting. So a couple more important things before we move on. Basically, when I say the word you in this presentation from this point onwards, I mean your team. So don't think it's you, it's your team. Every time Neil and I, when we worked together, he used to come up with lots of brilliant ideas to market the business. And my heart used to sink because I thought, oh, more work for me. Actually, no, when you've got a team, you can come up with as many ideas as you like and your team will implement. So it's a really big psychological shift to stop thinking of you as being the person who does the work. It'll be your team. Now, obviously, if you've got more time than money, you can start out doing everything yourself, but I seriously wouldn't recommend it. Even if you've got limited resources, you can get yourself a VA, a virtual assistant, very, very inexpensively indeed, and it'll mean that you travel that much further, that much faster as soon as you start delegating. So the other important thing is that you can outsource the content creation part of all this, but you'll make a much deeper impact if it's you that's creating the original content, no matter how imperfect it is. If you could see me talking to camera, I stutter, I stop, I have to refer to my notes. It's only Phoebe's tight editing that makes it look halfway decent in the final cut in the V-zine. So what do you actually do to be everywhere online then? I'm going to show you exactly my process. But we want to think about what's going to be your easiest and best primary content creation method. We want to talk about what social media platform you need to be on, and we need to talk about what happens to your content once it's been made. So let's talk a bit about what your best primary content creation method will be. Let's start to talk about video, audio, and the written word. When we first started with Neil in Raw Local, Neil's preferred method of creating content was written, because he could do it at any time, day or night, even when the kids were asleep. So we used to take his blog posts and we used to get a voiceover artist to record them and make them into audio. And then we used to get someone else to put the audio and the slides together, the PowerPoint slides, which was made by another lady in India. And so then the audio and the slides together made the video, and the chap who made the video used to upload to YouTube in an unlisted basis, and we used to come along and finish it off. So we took written word, turned it into audio, and then turned the audio and the slides into video. But it's much, much easier if you can start from the other way round. Now, not everyone can talk to camera, I realise that, but it's much better if you can create audio. My sister can actually read out her own blog posts and put a lot of animation into it and make them sound really exciting and interesting, but whenever I do that I end up sounding very, very wooden indeed. So what I prefer to do if I've got to create an audio is I prefer to mind map and make the bullet points of all the things I want to cover, and then talk spontaneously around the bullet points that I've created. But recently, although I'm not massively happy doing it because I don't really like the way I look, I've forced myself to start doing video, because not only is it the most efficient method of creating content, because it's very easy to spin off the audio and it's very quick to get the transcripts done, it also creates a much greater bond with the audience. Not to mention the fact that obviously YouTube loves video, but Facebook loves video too now, as does Instagram. So video is the way that the whole planet is moving. So if you can force yourself somehow to get comfortable in front of a camera, or to create how-to videos, that's another way to do video content without actually having to be on the screen, then you are going to be in a much better place to market your business online. So let's, in the background while we're talking about the rest of it, let's just you just be thinking about how you could create your content, and I'm going to talk about what you should cover in your content in a minute. So, which content will you create? There we go. You've got to know who your customers are, or who you're aiming at as customers. That helps enormously. And it also helps if you know what your archetype is. Now, an archetype is a story character, and if you think about Star Wars, probably one of the greatest stories of all time, it follows the hero's journey, story arc as it's known. But archetypes are characters in that story, and if you know what your archetype is, you will be able to tell what your customers are going to be, and you'll also probably attract some of the opposite types of archetype. You can go to get your archetype test for free at kerismooney.com. That's CERRIES Mooney, MOONEY.com. She's a very talented graphic designer, and she came up with the archetypes because she wanted to help her graphic design clients to create a website that really truly reflected who they were. And we all love the archetype test so much. You can get your primary archetype done for free, and you can get your secondary archetype done for a small investment afterwards. And I'm a alchemist creator. I like to create content, and I like to create money out of nothing. That's the alchemist in me. I love the thought that an idea can become a thing, and it can become a thing with value. And my clients tend to be typically alchemists or creators, and I also attract the innocent adventurer type. Now, I know that, and I can write all my copy designed to appeal to one or other of those archetypes. So it really does help when you're creating marketing materials. So you need to know your archetype, and then you need to try and work out who your customer is going to be. Or if you have some customers already, what I did was I sent some of my customers to do a free archetype test, and then I told them to come back and tell me what they were, which is how I was able to find out. You also need to work out what is the story? Where is the story in your business? Is the story of the founder, the hero's journey, for example? Is the story of the product, how you had the idea and brought it to life? Is the story the customers? Because I was in an audience in Brisbane just recently, and a chap from the audience spoke up and he said, well, I just sell backpacks, and I sell backpacks because they're profitable and they sell easily, and I don't think you can make a story about a backpack. And I said, well, no, what we need to do then is we need to make a story about your customer. We need to get your customers to send you pictures of your backpacks out on their adventures with them. And you could run a competition, for example, for the most exciting backpack story that you get sent every month, and that would be a really great way to do it. So which social media platforms do you need to be on? Well, I would say all the social media platforms where your customers are. For example, I don't like LinkedIn. I absolutely hate it, always have done, but I know that my customers are on there, so I need to be on there too. And social media is a great way to find out what your customers' pain points are. What are the things that are driving them to search for the solution that your product is a result of? Or what are the other things that they're buying? What else are they trying to buy or source to come up with solutions for their other pain points? And what else might they be interested in buying from you? Because it would be much better if you could build up a suite of products that are related and that solve the pain points of your ideal customers. Because as we know, it's much easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to find a new one. So you need to be on all the social media platforms that they are on. You don't necessarily have to be that interested in having a presence there yourself, i.e. interactive actively on them, but you do need to be making sure that your brand has a presence on the social media platforms that your customers are on, and that your brand has a strong presence which is constantly being updated, because it's all about that nowadays. So let's show you exactly what I do. That would be helpful, I hope. Okay, so the first thing I do is create 3 little bits of video content. The main bit is the middle bit, so I'll talk about that last. First of all, I just recap on what I've been doing that week, and if I haven't been anywhere and done anything exciting, I talk about what I've been working on in my business, particularly because I think it's always useful for people to hear that. And then I talk about what's been on the blog and what's been on the podcast, and I encourage people to go and check those out in the final bit. And then I also direct people in the final bit to any special offers that may be happening or anything they need to pay attention to online. The middle bit is the value-driven bit. This is the bit where I try and educate, and the other 2 bits are the entertainment in the education sandwich. And a bit like 2 bits of bread and a filling, if you like. And so in the education bit, I try and give people something that they can take away and implement themselves in their business today. So it's usually something, a marketing tactic, something I've heard about online, or perhaps even a psychological tip in that, how to keep going when times are tough. Or perhaps I'll share some of the tools that I've found helpful myself to get my mind straight, such as journaling, listen to a great podcast, or perhaps using something like Subliminal Power software. And then as soon as I finish my 3 little bits of raw video, rough, remember, they haven't been edited yet, I put them into Google Drive we use actually, but you could use Dropbox just as easily. And that's where Phoebe comes in. So she's the video editor, and she goes through it all. She makes sure that she takes out all the ums and the ahs and the bits where the wasps dive bomb me, or I think there's something crawling up my arm, or a beetle buzzes past, or all that stuff, or perhaps a lorry going past, as has been happening in this recording. She makes it tight and neat, and then she puts the little bits of Greek life. I do sort of 30-second video panning across, various bits of Greek life, and she puts those in between. Then she puts on the ident at the beginning that you've seen, and she puts on some credits at the end. She then uploads to YouTube, but she uploads as unlisted. And she also puts in all her little bits, like the credits for the music she's used in that week's episode. And that's where my VA Patricia comes in. So she'll come along to YouTube and she'll go to the unlisted video that Phoebe's just uploaded, and she will go and copy and paste the main bulk of the description from the previous week, being careful not to overwrite what Phoebe's done. And then she also drops in the 1-paragraph description that I've made right at the beginning when I talk about what the middle bit's about. And then she'll hit the button to get a transcript made by rev.com, and rev.com are a very reasonable transcription service. It's at $1 per minute, so I'm usually paying between $12 and $15 a week, because that's how long the V-zine is. And obviously I get them to do it after Phoebe's edited it, otherwise I'd get all my goofs and gaffs in the transcript as well. So the other thing that Rev do at the same time for no extra cost is they'll provide closed captions. Now when you watch a video on YouTube or Facebook often, you'll see the words scrolling past at the bottom of the screen. Those are the closed captions. And they're not only really good for people who are watching the video without the sound turned up, they're absolutely fantastic for search engine optimization. And as we know, YouTube is owned by Google, and having accurate closed captions on your video is very powerful indeed for Google, because it helps Google know what your video is all about. And then what else happens? Yes, so then Patricia will then set up a blog post on my website. So when we were talking about websites earlier, you're probably thinking, well, I don't know what to put on my website. So what I do with the blog is we get a new blog post. Patricia will embed the YouTube video code, so you can watch it on video straight from YouTube on my blog. She'll take the audio that Phoebe's, she saves it as a video, she also saves it as audio, and then we'll put that on as a downloadable audio on the blog post, and she also puts the full transcript in, so that's great for search engine optimization as well. And also it's great for people who prefer to read rather than listen to audio or video, and I'm one of those people. I'd always prefer to read rather than watch a video. So that's very cool. Now the other thing Patricia does is she downloads the video from YouTube, where Phoebe's finished it. She has published it on YouTube, by the way, by now. It's gone public. But she'll download the original edited version from Phoebe via YouTube, and she will upload it to my Facebook page. Now the reason for doing that is Facebook is going head to head with YouTube as being one of the world's biggest video platforms, and so they reward you by showing your video to lots more people than would see it unless you just shared a link from YouTube. So it's important to upload your video natively to Facebook, your Facebook page, which is what we're talking about here. You can also upload the closed captions, which you've had from rev.com. You can download them from YouTube or rev.com indeed and upload them to Facebook. So that will give you a video on your Facebook page that's got the little scrolling words along the bottom. And as something like 80% of people look at Facebook with the sound turned down, it's really cool to be able to offer the words along the bottom, because that makes people want to stop the video, scramble for their headphones and have a good old listen. So what happens then? Over it goes to iTunes, because Sarah, my sister, is the podcast wizard queen, and she has created my WordPress blog into something that goes on to iTunes. So whenever we post the video version of the V-zine on the blog, it goes into a special category, and that goes off to iTunes as a video podcast. And the other thing is Sarah takes the audio that Phoebe created, she chops off the ident at the beginning and the credits at the end, and she replaces those with more audio-friendly ident and credits, because obviously the video is, it's lots of moving things and lots of visual images, whereas the ident for iTunes audio podcast has of necessity got to be more audio-friendly. So she does that, and then it goes on to iTunes as well, and that's particularly exciting because millions and millions of cars are now rolling off the production line with iTunes embedded, hard-coded, hardwired into the entertainment centre. So people are going to be listening to a lot more podcasts in the forthcoming years, because podcasts are essentially ad-free radio. And if you're trapped in your car for an hour each way every day, you really want some new stuff to listen to. You don't want to listen to the same old radio stations. So that's when people will be using podcasts a lot more, when they see the iTunes logo embedded and podcast logo embedded in their entertainment centre. That is specifically very, very interesting for a lot of people. It opens up a whole new audience. The other thing the blog does is it automatically, via means of a plugin, updates my Twitter account and my LinkedIn account. Now there, I remember how excited we all were when Twitter started. Oh, it's such a shame, it's just got really dull now, along with LinkedIn. I just can't bear it. So, but basically the blog does the heavy lifting on that. It shares everything onto Twitter and LinkedIn. And obviously my Facebook profile as well, because I've got a lot of people following my personal profile as well as my page on Facebook. So that gets automatically shared as soon as it goes live on the blog. All about bringing people back to your blog, remember, which is on your website. Okay, pretty much it now. The last thing is that as soon as I see it go live on my personal Facebook profile, I know it's time to go and take an Instagram snapshot and share it on my Instagram account. And sometimes I even sit and make a little 30-second or a minute clip from the video and share that onto Instagram, because on Instagram you can either go live on Instagram or you can make a 60-second video clip and upload it. So the other thing I do personally is my Snapchat account. I've got a Snapchat because it's the only way to keep in touch with my son Nelson, and I do quite enjoy it. It's quite good fun. It's a little bit like being allowed in the VIP area of most celebrities' social media. So it's a great way to get to know people, comment on their snaps, and just be, a lot more informal with people. It used to be like that on Twitter, but everyone's moved to Snapchat now. So that's the last two bits that literally takes me a couple of minutes each week to do my Instagram snap and my Snapchat snap, if you like. Finally, there's a few other bits you can do. When Neil used to do his blog posts, we used to turn some of those every month into a digital marketing magazine, which then got shared on iTunes magazine rack, on Kindle, Amazon Kindle, and also onto issue.com, ISSW. And if you can see that if you've got a digital marketing agency and you're the only digital marketing agency that produces their own digital magazine, it's going to give you quite a lot of credibility with your potential future customers. So, and that all came from written content, and we found a graphic designer who created a lovely template for us. It looked gorgeous inside, so do go and check it out on issue.com, because I think you can see some of the episodes for free there without having to buy them. And it looked very sexy indeed. And the final thing you can do is a what's called a documentary, a branding documentary, which I'm going to play for you in a moment. And it was done by Phoebe for a friend of mine, Pete Jenkins, who is a global expert in gamification. And he had lots of credibility building bits of media dotted around, but they weren't all in the same place. So people very rarely saw all the bits of video of him together. So what he did was he paid Phoebe to follow him around for a day, film him as he was teaching young gamification people at Brighton University and doing some of his speaking gigs, and then she wove it all together with some background music and some of the biggest speaking gig video clips he supplied to her. And these branding documentaries, they're called, they're really, really powerful for getting over in a couple of minutes what you're all about. So let's play Pete's and see what you think of that.
I'm Pete Jenkins. I run a gamification company called Gamification Plus. I'm the entrepreneur in residence at the University of Brighton. I chair an organisation called GamFed about spreading best practices in gamification.
What does a typical week look like for Pete Jenkins?
I'm not sure there is a typical week.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
In a few weeks' time we're going to Singapore and Malaysia.
What do you do to relax?
To relax, I like playing table tennis.
What's one thing we don't know about you that might surprise us?
I was quite popular in the caving club, and at the annual elections I couldn't decide which role to go for, so I applied for president, treasurer, vice president, and some other role as well, and I missed all of them by one vote, which was good, because obviously if I'd got them all, it would have been a nightmare. Good morning, everyone. I normally talk about gamification, so talking about me will be a bit different, a bit difficult maybe, we'll see. Much as it's nice to be introduced as an international speaker, I'm quite shy. When I was meant to talk about my journey, so I'm not very used to doing that.
If you were to start again with the knowledge you have now, what would you do differently, or what advice would you give to your earlier self?
I would run my own company earlier without my dad. I would proactively go out and look for what I'm interested in and good at and get out of my comfort zone more. I would probably concentrate on building an audience on a platform, either YouTube or Facebook.
So, to conclude, and I think we can show that CRMs can be made more effective through fun. I think all CRMs should be made more fun. And I think you should go away and please make your CRMs more fun. Thank you.
Now, I said at the beginning that I would be giving you some more information about how you can get help with all of this, and I have laid out exactly what I do, but I do realise that it's a bit daunting when you're first getting going, so I'd like to offer you some help. But before we do that, I'd like to just talk about why you're here today. Why are you watching this presentation? Why, you could be off having time with your family or down the beach or just generally lazing about on the sofa. So let's talk about why you're here today. You're not here for fun, you're here for business. You know that you need an Amazon business, you know that you need an online business, you know that you need to sell your products or services online, you know that you need traffic for that business, because without eyeballs on your offers, you haven't got a business online. And you now know that you need to build the trust and a powerful brand for that business in order for people to be more easily able to buy from you. You now know you need to use social media to build trust. It's the best thing to do it with, and it's an amazing opportunity right now because nobody is doing it, let alone doing it well. So you have an opportunity right now to build an attraction machine for your business, to build authority by showing yourself as the expert in your field, and by making conversions of eyeballs, also known as traffic, to leads and sales. And as I say, it can be 98% outsourced. It can, it really can. There's no way that you couldn't build a small to inexpensive team to take each part of your content and spread it far and wide. But the problem is you have no idea where to start. You have no strategic plan on how to get it done. And you've got no step-by-step execution plan, and you've got possibly no support while you're doing it either, and no list to share the content with. You might have a mailing list, but not many people do. So if in the absence of that, I can show you how to build an audience of people to share your content with. And if you do it right, the very content itself will start building that audience because it will be shared around. And you've probably got no idea about how to automate 90% of this. So the question is now, would you like my help? I've got a training course that shows you how to do it. It's a simple step-by-step plan, how to work to your strengths and hire out for your weaknesses, how to create great content quickly and easily, how to syndicate that content across every social media platform, how to dominate your market with a great social media branding plan without doing all the work yourself. That's the important bit, because you're too busy running your business, or too busy creating new marketing initiatives, or too busy sourcing new products in China perhaps. It comprises of a 6-week video training course. It starts very simple and it builds up gradually to the slightly more complex stuff, but you can avoid overwhelm and take it week by week. It's all in my training area. And it's everything you need to build a powerful brand online. everything you need to hire and train your content team. So what results can you expect? Well, obviously I don't know is the answer. I don't know if you'll actually take any action. I don't know if your product, business, service, or whatever you're planning to offer is any good. But I do know what the results I've achieved and some of those results of some of my clients. So personally, I'm the only British woman to have been asked to speak twice at the World Internet Summit because I've got such a good personal brand online. I got invited to speak, one of the keynote speakers at the Athena Inspire conference. That's a ladies networking group in the UK, and I was speaking on Facebook ads there. My book, The Business Success Factory, became a #1 bestseller in small business sales and marketing when I released it within a week of release. And there you can see my latest book, Mindset, Marketing and Money, is at #2 in home-based business, small business and entrepreneurship category when I released it there. And we can see that the Own It, the podcast, is doing very well all the time. It's in the What's Hot chart, top 100 in the UK. And obviously I've got a boutique digital marketing agency where I charge £3,000 consultancy fees to go out and have dinner with a client and spend 1 day personal consulting. And they're really good fun. I really enjoy them, and the client gets a load out of them because we are 100% focused on their business and there's no wriggling away. So I make them do all the things that they don't really want to do and they wouldn't do if I wasn't there.
Oh, hello. How are you? Didn't see you there. My name is Neil Asher, and I am the CEO/founder of the Aussie Online Entrepreneurs. And I've just had a coaching session with the ever fantastic Nicola Cairncross. Now, if you want the very quick version, she's freaking awesome. Get a coaching session with her. She'll make you a ton of money. If you want to check out what she actually did for me, maybe she can do it for you. Stick around. I'll tell you all about it. Now, this is actually the second coaching session I've had with Nicola, which ought to tell you quite a lot. The first one was, I'm going to say, about a year ago. And after applying what I actually did within that coaching session with Nicola, I would say that information has made me about $1 million. So pretty freaking good return on investment. And it's actually taken me the better part of 12 months to implement all of the crazy shit that Nicola and I went through and get it working in my business. The session was just so incredibly productive. And so it was with excitement that I asked Nicola if I could see her again for another coaching session, because I knew that if it were only a tenth as profitable as the last one, I'd be quids in. And true to form, it was bloody awesome. Nicola took apart my entire social media strategy. We went through every different element of it, and then we pieced it back together into something which is going to be absolutely bloody mind-blowing. I'm super excited to recommend her. She has made a huge difference to my business, but not only to my business, because of course my business affects many other things in my life. It's meant that as a result of that, I get to travel the world, eat at beautiful restaurants, have beautiful sports cars, buy nice houses, send my kids to great schools, and keep my wife in shoes and handbags, much to her absolute delight. So do yourself a favor, get a coaching session from Nicola. She's bloody brilliant. You will not regret it. And listen, if you want to make yourself a lot of money, pretty quickly, all you need to do is jump on a call with Nicola, because she is the bomb. She is the bomb. I don't know what else I can tell you. Check her out for yourself. She's bloody awesome. She's done a huge favor for me and my business. She's made me a ton of money. It's a tiny investment relative to the amount of money it made for me. Get yourself into it. Do it now while it's fresh in your mind. Bye.
So this is one of my clients, Chris Barrow from 7 Connections, coachbarrow.com. He's also one of the survivors of Series 1, The Island with Bear Grylls. You've probably seen him. He's the one covered in sandfly bites. But anyway, he was in between businesses. He threw a load of miscellaneous previous materials at me in an old mailing list. And we launched a new coaching program and business in 3 weeks flat, with an evergreen marketing system, a brand new membership site, and 2 new coaching programs. It's a great testimonial, and I'm very proud of that. Bev Blanchard, she is extremely niche. She does recruitment and training and coaching in the organic food manufacturing sector. So she is extremely niche, but within 6 months of using the tools that I've taught her in the Be Everywhere online system, Bev was offered a 5 to 7 year contract worth over £100,000 a year, and she now feels very excited about the possibilities for her business. And Channel 4 Secret Millionaire Series 1, she said, there is no better teacher or mentor than Nicola. We worked together, we created a business, she bought me out, and that was the first time I realised that something you created from scratch out of your own head can have an actual monetary value. So, Jill wrote that in the foreword of my book, The Money Gym, and I'm very proud of that testimonial there. This is Andy Shaw. He was a multi-million property investor. He had about nearly 300 properties when I met him, and I showed him the internet, and it just completely changed his life. He says, if your business is struggling in these trying times, then her techniques could improve your success. He's now a multi-million best-selling author of 2 books, Your Money for Nothing and Your Property for Free, and the 2 life-changing books, Creating a Bug-Free Mind and Using a Bug-Free Mind. If you've got any suspicions that you might be holding yourself back in any way, I strongly urge you to go and get those books. If you go to nicolacairncross.com/bug-free, you'll find a link to some of Andy's videos, and you can look at getting some of his books, videos or audios. They are life-changing, let me tell you. And Debbie Bissett was a serious, experienced businesswoman. She was also in recruitment, and she had her own business. And she said that from working with me, she's increased her asset base by well over £500,000. And just one idea from me, one day, just a throwaway comment really, created an extra £18,000 extra profit in her partner's business in just 6 weeks. So that's another great, I love these specific money ones, where you can actually see what a difference you've made to someone's life. That's very cool indeed.
This is a quick message for someone I met 4 or 5 months ago, Nicola Cairncross. What an unbelievably clever, knowledgeable, straight-talking woman she is. She's brought so much to the table. She's been a great bouncing board for me with ideas on sales and marketing and online and podcasting. And there's always one little gem I get each week, and I can't recommend Nicola Cairncross high enough to anyone out there. And if you're a bloke, definitely go to Nicola Cairncross. She says it how it is, and she gets results.
Now, normally I would do Q&A on these things, but because it's a webinar of this kind, we can't do that. But I would like to assure you that if you send me a question, a specific question about your business, then I will do my very best to reply within a couple of days. That is my personal email address, and nobody else answers it. Join me in the Be Everywhere Online in under 20 minutes a week program, and let's get your social media domination plan up and running, shall we? It's been great to be here with you today. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing from you.